18 of 188 laps completed, and Bill Elliott is the leader. Terry Labonte second, followed by Davey, Bobby, and Dale Earnhardt. Well, exciting NHL hockey tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Toronto. And we have a lead change here as Terry Labonte has passed Bill Elliott. So exciting hockey at 8 o'clock tonight here on ESPN. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue.
Bob, I think that may be the first time in 1987 that Terry Labonte has taken the lead under a green flag condition. That's the first time any of us can remember, and Labonte is opening up distance between himself and Bill Elliott. Labonte has been moving up ever so slowly. It happens in most instances gradually here at Talladega. You can see his best 87 finish was a fourth earlier this year. But Terry Labonte, we thought that there were some concerned looks in the Junior Grant Johnson garage area, crew chief Jeff Hammond throughout the week, but they have been a quiet but steady 210 runner all week long. And in the race, at least in the early stages here, Terry Labonte looks to be one of the strongest.
Back in the pack, meanwhile, one of the best battles going on right now is between Buddy Baker and Bobby Allison as they are going for that fourth position. Bobby Allison has it, but Buddy Baker has been challenging him for several laps now, and you can see how Buddy is running that low line, just as he explained a little bit earlier to us. That's where he likes to be because simply that's the fastest way around Talladega.
Baker has been the cream in recent laps, meaning he started in seventh about 4 laps ago, and he's been steadily rising. He just passed Dale Earnhardt about a lap ago. Bobby Allison is next up. Son Davey should be next. You can see Earnhardt, the yellow car still in the picture. But Buddy Baker, who has a lot of sentiment among veteran observers, as one of the real threats.
Oh, we have a problem.
Allison is blowing the tire.
Bobby Allison with a horrible crash here on the front stretch. It has torn out a complete section of protective railing separating it. Alan Kowicki becomes involved.
Debris and is collecting other cars. There was a lot of debris on the front stretch. Kowicki was involved. Richard Petty, I think, is another one of the cars. Lots of debris on the front stretch. Now, Bobby's car, to me, appeared to stay together quite well. He did get up into the fencing, but not into the stand.
And it was close, though. He has torn out a whole large area of guardrail. There it is, protecting the crowd from the racetrack. And he came very, very close to going into the stands. The car became airborne and went flying literally into that wall and catch fencing. But fortunately, it did stay onto the racetrack. Bobby Allison is moving around in the race car, and that is certainly good news for us, but he has to be quite shaken after a tremendous crash. The red flag has been brought out, and quite frankly, Larry, I think we're going to have to be red for quite a while because we cannot race with that protective fencing in the shape that it's in. It's just not safe for the spectators.
It's pretty obvious why it was there, happening right underneath Harold Kinder. It wasn't the fence that caught him, but they have built the cement wall here at Talladega just a little taller
Bobby's
than most
out.
racetracks. There's Bobby getting out of the car. I told you that Bobby's car, though, was heavily damaged. It did stay together. The integrity of the roll cage is intact. The crowd is giving Bobby a very warm welcome out of that machine, but the car lived up to NASCAR standards.
Larry, I think a tire blew. I think I saw a tire coming apart while he was right here in the tri-oval nearing the starting line.
Right rear, it begins to shred, and the car goes out of control. You're at 210 miles an hour. You can see the right rear going. You see the debris there on the left-hand side of your screen. Earnhardt avoids Bobby. The car goes backwards. The aerodynamics get underneath the car, and Allison gets up into the fence. The aerodynamics lifted the car. They're not built to go backwards. Right underneath Harold Kinder. Harold, he stayed in there. Boy, I'll tell you, talk about a trooper. Kinder is right there. He's got the yellow flag out right away. That is a veteran, competent flagman. Here comes the rest of the field down. They've decelerated to maybe 180 miles an hour, but all the debris, there's Petty, there's Kowicki spinning. There's just nowhere for many of these drivers to go because there's so much of what was left over from the initial impact on the front stretch, and there was just nowhere to go.
And tires began to explode, too, as they ran over debris caused by the Allison crash. Well, it's very rare that you see that catch fencing do its job, but it sure did its job here at Talladega today. As if it hadn't been there, or if it had not been as strong as it was, Bobby Allison's car would very clearly have gone into the grandstand right below us here in the broadcast booth. There's a tire going.
Here's another angle of it, and we'll just let you watch it because we've covered it well.
There goes Darrell Waltrip going by without becoming involved in it. But as I said, as the cars came down now, they were running over the debris of the Allison car, and tires were blowing, and therefore they became involved in the crash. There's Petty, Alan Kulwicki, Phil Parsons made contact with the Bobby Allison car. We understand that it's brand new catch fencing up here, and boy, we just salute the people here at Talladega for building it as strong as they did. There is a stretcher that we can see down there, a couple of stretchers, as a matter of fact, being lifted into the grandstand area, so perhaps there were some spectators that were hit by flying debris. All right, Phil Parsons did make contact with the Bobby Allison car. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Phil Parsons still sitting in the car on pit road. The back of the car is just about sheared away in that Copenhagen Oldsmobile, and Parsons talking to the crew chief. Apparently his day is over with. I don't think the car will be fixable. They're going to try to bring it behind the wall. Maybe we'll get a comment with Phil in just a moment and find out exactly what happened down there.
All right, so Phil gathering his thoughts, and you can see him sort of gesturing to his crew. I really don't know what happened, but I became involved. There, meanwhile, is the Bobby Allison car that has come to a rest between the start-finish line and turn number 1. The ambulances are there. The track crews are there cleaning up the debris. Well, we will go inside now, Cale Yarborough's car, and see how it looked to him.
There he is following behind Greg Sachs of Valvoline number 50. The action is beginning to unfold. It's already unfolded up in front of him, and there's Cale trying to weave his way through all the pieces lying on the ground. You can see that Greg Sachs goes into a spin. Greg made a left turn, a right turn. There's Cale. He's trying to avoid Rusty Wallace. He goes sideways. He goes up, gets along the outer wall. I think he avoided significant contact. He brings it back around. It does a reverse spin as he is beginning to fight at the wheel. And now he can use the banking to coast down to the bottom of the racetrack, crank it to the right, try and get that thing to start back up again. The red light comes on, indicating that the engine has been stalled, and then Cale Yarborough can get back around.
A scary moment for Cale Yarborough, and a scary moment for many of these drivers who became involved in this Bobby Allison crash in the tri-oval. There is Richard Petty, who was also spinning, trying to avoid the cars that were in front of him.
A comment, by the way, about Phil Parsons, whose car does appear to be terminally damaged. He was one of the dark horse favorites. As many of you who follow Winston Cup racing know, many times a dark horse will win here at Talladega. And Davey Allison, Sterling Marlin, and Phil Parsons are three of the people who had not won here recently that were a definite threat for the day.
Once again, a replay from the in-car camera of Cale Yarborough. This is at real speed, so it'll be just as Cale thought. It appeared as if Cale pretty much had it saved, but was hit a couple of times and then lost control.
Yeah, he got hit from behind. There's no question about that. You could hear it with the audio.
All right, let's go to Jerry Punch again and Phil Parsons.
Well, Phil's still sitting in the car on pit road trying to get the helmet unhooked. And, Phil, what happened out there?
I have no idea. My spotter came on the radio and told me there's a big crash in the front stretch. So I was slowing way down right here in the tri-oval and got slowed down pretty good. I was waving my hand because I was in a bunch of traffic, and I probably slowed down to 70 or 80 miles an hour, just picking my way through the debris, and somebody hit me from behind, I guess turned me around. I thought somebody else hit me then real hard, but that must have been when I hit Bobby. I heard somebody say that I hit Bobby after I got turned around, so I'm sure that's probably what it was.
Are you going to have to park it now?
I haven't looked at the car. I don't know. Not unless we absolutely have to. I'll assure you of that.
Well, Phil Parsons in the car. Now, take a look at the damage on the car as he climbs out. The rear of the car completely collapsed back here, but the important safety feature, the fuel cell is still intact. No fuel leaking from underneath that car. In the back of the car, it's completely shoved in. You see Phil getting out, surveying the damage here. Some of the sheet metal bent, battered. He is completely okay. The driver's compartment intact, but the fuel cell did save that. No fire, no fuel on the racetrack. A good safety feature here in Winston Cup competition.
Thank you, Jerry, for that report from Phil Parsons. Bobby Allison's car, meanwhile, has been loaded onto a flatbed and is being taken off the racetrack, and it's a very badly damaged Miller American Buick that Bobby Allison climbed out of, fortunately uninjured, but we're concerned about some spectators who may have been hit by flying debris. The track security and the Talladega Sheriff's Department is on the scene, trying to keep the crowd under control as they assess the damage and possible injuries. That is the area of the crash, and it is just almost underneath Harold Kinder's starting area. Well, let's once again go down to the pit area for this report.
And I'm with Benny Gertel. He's team manager for Stavola Racing. Benny, you were close to that accident.
Yeah, I was up there spotting for Bobby, and when he comes through the trioval, the right rear tire blew, and that the air picked up the car and sent him right into the grandstands and ripped on a portion of the fence. And then when he came back onto the track, spun around a few more times, and he said he was all right for now. And then here comes Phil Parsons and hit him again in the door. And then I asked him how he was, and he still said he was all right. So that's racing, I guess.
How about the grandstand? Could you see, is everybody okay up there?
Everybody in the grandstand seemed to be okay from my vantage point, but I'm not really sure, Dick.
Well, that's good news. We certainly hope everybody is okay. Benny Gertel, he was real close to that thing. He said it almost got him.
All right, thank you, Dick. 22 laps have been completed here at Talladega out of 188. And that's kind of ironic because it was the number 22 car of Bobby Allison's that started this multi-car accident here in the trioval. There is Allison's car being taken back to the garage area on the flatbed. Well, a scary moment for all of us. We hope that everybody in the grandstand is okay. It appears as if all the drivers managed to escape this very bad crash okay here at Talladega. So we're going to take another commercial break. We are under a red flag condition at Talladega. You know, I just really wonder what's going to happen here because they cannot possibly run this race with that hole there, and it'll take hours. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, we are not being fed anywhere, right? Oh, we're on a satellite.
Except on satellite.
Yeah.
Had Bobby hit 15 feet further down the track, Harold Kinder would have been involved, I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sure.
Sure, no problem.
We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
No problem.
Okay.
For sure he's coming up to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, boy.
For sure Jeffrey's coming up to us, is that right? Okay, we won't mention that then.
Under a red flag at Talladega with 22 of 188 laps completed. There are the top five: Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott, Davey Allison, Buddy Baker, and Dale Earnhardt. We are under red because of a terrific crash here on the trioval as Bobby Allison's car blew a tire, but Bobby is okay. You can see him walking around right there, smiling now after gathering his thoughts and calming down just a bit. Tire shredded on the car. He's waving to the crowd now and nearly got into the grandstand. It tore down a huge section of catch fencing. And by the way, as I said earlier, that is new catch fencing. There is Bobby Hillin, Bobby's teammate. That is new catch fencing. And the feeling is that if this accident would have occurred a year ago with the old catch fencing, Bobby Allison could very well have gone into the grandstand.
Yeah, they rust after a few years, and it's difficult to assess just how sturdy it would be. Although it is the absolute contemporary style of fencing, the NASCAR people have been very conscious of putting the utmost to security and safety measures into the design of this racetrack. So it's likely that the old stuff, it might have been a little old, but it was pretty strong, too.
The leader of the race is Terry Labonte. He's with Dick Bergery.
Terry, you were certainly in the right place at that particular moment. First time you've led in a new car. Must feel good today.
Well, it really does. You know, all the guys really got the Budweiser Chevy running super today. It's really handling good. You know, of course, Elliott and some of the other guys are awful strong, but I really feel good about it. The car's working awful good.
People have been talking about the Fords here at Talladega as being the fastest. You're in a Chevrolet. Can a Chevrolet win today? Can you win today?
Well, I hope so.
Okay, that's Terry Labonte. He's in the lead. He's in the best position when the green flag flies again. Now down pit road to Jerry Punch.
Well, Bobby Allison just walked out of the infield care center. First of all, Bobby, are you okay?
I'm okay. Very thankful to the good Lord that I'm not hurt, and I hope nobody else down there is hurt too bad.
What happened down there?
I think I ran over something. I couldn't really tell. Something bounced under the car, and then the tire exploded. And I think I ran over something and cut my right rear tire down, and it spun the car in the tri-oval there, and up in the air it went, and round backwards. There's just nothing I could do.
Any recollection of hitting the fence or who might have hit you when you came down?
Well, I knew I hit the fence, and yeah, I recall that quite well. I don't know who else was involved, and I'm very disappointed anyone was involved. I'm very sorry about that.
Well, Bobby Allison, a true champion, even in defeat here at Talladega.
You know, the last couple of races, Larry, we have seen incidents of fans, if I can use that term loosely, throwing beer cans and other debris on the racetrack and really creating a serious situation. I think we have to compliment the fans here because when that car hit and there was obvious pandemonium down there, most of the spectators kept their cool and rushed to the aid of their fellow spectators.
Most everybody who comes to Talladega is pretty serious and sit up in the main stands because you have to make a major financial and emotional weekend commitment to come here. And those, for the most part, are pretty hardcore race fans. But you're absolutely right, Bob, that everybody remained in their seats. Everybody kind of stayed back to make certain that everything was under control as the situation unfolded. And really, nobody rushed down and crowded out the safety officials or the law enforcement people. There was no crowd control that was needed. You know, Bobby Allison had, for him, a very typical weekend again. On Friday night, he watched his son Clifford win at the Birmingham International Raceway, local by here. And he spent Friday night repairing Red Farmer's car. He raced himself last night, again on a night with little sleep, and here at Talladega Sunday.
We had an ARCA Permatex 500-kilometer race here on this racetrack yesterday. ARCA competitors. And at the very beginning of that race, Jerry Churchill dropped to the bottom of the racetrack with a blown engine, and that was an indication, actually wasn't a blown engine, but a mechanical problem, and that was the first of many incidents that gave us concern in that ARCA race yesterday.
The ARCA drivers have shown marked improvement on the super speedways in recent years, that this race would not be without one major incident, which really wasn't the fault of any driver or group of drivers. It was similar to the situation we just saw here in the front stretch. There's Dave Fletcher on the inside and Red Farmer on the outside.
And then a flip in the tri-oval as Billy Simmons' car got upside down, the number 17 machine. It landed in the entrance to the pit area. But fortunately, Billy Simmons climbed out of that car. It was a little bit dusty. In fact, it looked sort of like a chimney sweep after that accident, but he was completely uninjured and walked away from the crash.
Summer has come early to Alabama. There is Sergeant Charlie Glotzbeck. Yes, the same one who once held the Alabama International Motor Speedway one-lap track record. The white car there on the low side. Sergeant Charlie Glotzbeck has come out of Indiana, where he has been running dirt track cars the past 3 or 4 seasons. Says, gee, maybe I'd like to do this again. Has he lost anything? No. There he goes by Grant Adcox, who came into this race having won 2 in a row for ARCA here at Talladega.
And then a holocaust in the pit area. While trying to refuel the Bill Scott car, a fire broke out. And one of the crew members, whose name is Harry Rommel from Nashville, Tennessee, was burned rather extensively. He is suffering 2nd and 3rd degree burns. 3rd degree burns on 5% of his body. He's in the University of Alabama Burn Center, Caraway Methodist Hospital, and we wish him the best. Jeff Bodine saw this occurring and came down as a former volunteer fireman. He pretty much knew what to do, gathered a fire extinguisher, and started to extinguish the flame. That's Rommel being airlifted to the burn center as the race got underway once again.
A number of people appear to be candidates, certainly most notably Glotzbeck. Adcox was right in there. He was certainly a candidate. At this point, Glotzbeck had pitted before many of the other top contenders. We didn't know exactly why. Jeff Hammond told me later he was crewing that car, as a matter of fact, yesterday. He thought maybe they missed something. He didn't understand why everybody did not pit. There's Adcox making his move, and then as they came around turn number 3, we've just had a restart. The field is tightly bunched, and then watch this.
14 cars pile up, 10 of them unable to compete in the race any further. There you can see the melee down there in turn number 4. A fire breaking out in the Tracy Reed car, but it extinguishes itself quickly. But there was a lot of damaged material down there. No driver injuries, however. Then the finish, Grant Adcox was able to pull away from Charlie Glotzback in the closing stages, and Grant Adcox won his 3rd consecutive ARCA race here at Talladega, tying a record set by Davey Allison in ARCA competition and Buddy Baker in Winston Cup competition.
He did make it look easy.
The top 5 finishers in that race, Glotzback was 2nd, Red Farmer was 3rd, Bobby Waywack 4th, and Dave Fletcher finished in 5th position.
Might add that all 5 of those people had strong races. There was nobody in that group that backed into position. All of them looked like they were a threat to win.
Well, there is the cleanup going on down near the starting line as they're trying to repair the catch fencing, which will have to be repaired before we could start the race again. The cars are lined up on pit road. And by the way, that ARCA race that we had the highlights from just a few minutes ago will be on ESPN at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on May the 23rd. It's an exciting race. We hope you'll be with us for that, May 23rd at 2 o'clock Eastern. Darrell Waltrip's car also was damaged slightly in that accident. Now, while we are red here, the crews cannot make any repairs to the cars, so they'll have to go into the pit area after we resume this race to get repairs made.
What will happen is that we will not go back immediately to green. There will be, under these circumstances, perhaps as many as 5, at least 4 yellow flag laps. So most of the people who have repairs to do will be able to accomplish it during that yellow once we go back. But we are going to be down quite some time because serious, significant repairs have to be made to the wheel fence on the front stretch.
Again, though, the reason for the red is a crash involving Bobby Allison, and he is okay. We'll be back at Talladega after this.
A windshield change then. I'll get Dog with me.
Okay. Good. I don't know. What about it? Dick and Jerry? Dick has no communication. Are you aware of that in the truck, Terry? That Dick has no communication with you guys? Okay. All right, just Al wanted to make sure you knew. I'll get it in if we don't have any more major delays. Right. Yep. No.
Yes, I am. Yeah. I don't think I am, though, am I? Yep.
Okay.
Certainly seems like it. Oh, yeah. They all would.
Huh?
Hey, you're talking to professionals
No,
up
it's already
here.
recorded.
No problem.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you, believe me.
All right,
Yeah,
Dick.
all right,
Welcome
Dick.
back.
Hey,
all right.
Hey. Dick, did you realize that we're up to lap 120 already?
I heard that, but I well, I'm glad it's not just me today.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was in a position to interview him, but unfortunately he has vacated wherever the heck he had been, and right now I'm a long ways away from him. I would say they're going to be ready to start this race before such an interview would be appropriate, but if you'd like, we'll head down there and give that a try. Okay? My judgment is at this point it would be a bad thing for me to try to go back down there again. I would prefer to stay with the event at this point. Can I talk to the guys on top, please?
Go ahead, Dick. We hear you.
Okay, one of the things, please be very, very careful about a tire blowing, because Goodyear is very concerned about this thing for obvious reasons. So,
okay. We are back live at Alabama International Motor Speedway in Talladega, and it's been a very lengthy red period, 2 hours and 6 minutes at this point. But the good news is that we will be back to racing within a very few minutes. The final repairs are being made at the scene of the accident, and hopefully within the next 10 or 15 minutes we'll be back to a green flag situation. Bobby Allison was the reason that we are under the red flag period. The car got airborne and into that fencing that separates the grandstand from the racetrack, and a huge section was torn out. Bobby Allison and the other drivers involved in the crash were not injured. A couple of spectators were hit by flying debris. They've been taken to a hospital in Birmingham. Bobby Allison's car coming through the tri-oval apparently ran over a piece of debris, and the tire let go on the rear of the car and sent Allison into a spin and into a airborne situation. Well, let's update for you the top 10 as this race is about to resume. The leader is Terry Labonte. In second position is the pole sitter Bill Elliott. Running in third, Davey Allison. In fourth position, Buddy Baker. Fifth on the grid is Dale Earnhardt. In sixth, Ken Schrader. Seventh place belongs to Sterling Marlin. In eighth, Rusty Wallace. Ninth place goes to Lake Speed, and 10th is Rick Wilson. 22 laps have been completed now. And the ruling from the NASCAR record book is that you can't make repairs during a red flag, but NASCAR Winston Cup officials have made an exception here. A danger situation involved Darrell Waltrip, whose windshield was cracked in that incident, and so the Winston Cup officials have allowed them to replace the windshield on the grid right now just because of safety reasons. Let's go down to Jerry Punch in the pit area.
Well, Bob, to amplify on that, here is the windshield, or part of the windshield, out of the Waltrip car. You see they were able to pull it. It was laying in pieces on the dashboard, and they were concerned about restarting the car and having some glass come in on Darrell. So a crewman went over, and they picked this piece of windshield from inside the car where Darrell was sitting. So you can see this is the box where the new windshield came out. It's safety glass. It's a glass that's not supposed to shatter, but it will come apart eventually with a significant blow. But certainly a safe move on NASCAR's part to allow this glass to be removed and swept from inside the car so they can restart the car. He will come to pit road. They will make a windshield change. Also, the frame in the windshield is bent. They will have a serious time trying to get all that repaired and get him competitive again here at Talladega.
Jerry, I would imagine that just about everybody will come in for a pit stop when we go back to start your engines, and they run a couple of laps under yellow, because some have to make repairs and others will just come in for fuel, don't you expect?
That's right, Bob. I think almost everyone, you'd be a fool not to come back in. As one crew member said to a driver, said, look, you know, we've got to come in. I know you want to lead a lap, but you got to come in. We've got to change tires. Richard Petty has significant damage. Mike Waltrip, Sterling Marlin. There's probably at least a dozen cars that had debris in their car, stuck in the grill, somewhere in the body from that disintegrating Allison machine. There's also been glass on the racetrack. Now, it's been swept by the NASCAR officials, but they're going to have to bring everybody on pit road, change the tires, clean the cars up, and check everything out before they let them go back to racing here at Talladega.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. We do take our hats off to three groups of individuals here. First of all, the track security for the Alabama County Sheriff's Department, who have been able to maintain control of this huge crowd very well during this red flag. A couple of minor skirmishes in the stands, but nothing serious. And then, of course, the track repair crews who have worked very diligently and hard in the last few minutes to get this race back underway. Down to the pit area this time to Dick Berggren.
Bob, I'd like to continue in that line, and I'd certainly like to give a good round of applause to the Speedway officials here and to NASCAR as well. The easy way to fix that fence would have been just to have thrown something together, but they've gone down there with 2 welding machines, big heavy steel. They've taken some chain link fence out of a VIP lounge area, parking area, and put it up there. That fence is solid. It's a good piece of workmanship. They've worked very hard on it. It would have been easy to do it the quick and dirty way. Second group, I want to give my hat off to the fans here. They have just sat quietly and patiently. I'll tell you, race fans have to be the best people in the world. It's hot here this afternoon, and there's been no problem at all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is the fourth group of people that need to be saluted, because there have been fans that have come down from the stands and volunteered their help to get this fence repaired. Well, let's take a look at the crash once again, Larry.
Well, there you can see that the tire going away. It appeared as though there was a possibility that there was debris on the track, because it was rather early in the race for something like that to happen, for a tire on its own to go away. And Allison, we've seen this scene 3 or 4 times now, if you've been with us for the last couple of hours. Here comes the rest of the traffic, and they've got her hunkered down to about 70 or 80 miles an hour, as you heard Phil Parsons tell us, but it's just not possible to depict and find exactly all those small points where they ran over pieces on the racetrack, which punctured tires and put people into spin.
Now we go inside Cale Yarborough's car for an exciting ride with him while all this was happening in front of him.
You see, everybody is already slowing as they come through the crash area, and we think it is Ron Bouchard who gives Cale a blast in the back. Now, Cale and directly in front of him, Greg Sachs, are sliding, and he's heavily on the brakes, and there he gets a thud, and we think it is from Ron Bouchard. Puts Cale into a more serious spin. He tried to correct it, but the car had already gotten away, and he got up into the fence.
He spun down into the infield area in turn number 1, and he suffered injury to the car. But the good word is, once again, there were no driver injuries in this accident. Bobby Allison walked away from the crash, but a couple of spectators were hit with flying debris and have been taken to a hospital in Birmingham. We're going to tell you as the wave begins to form here at Talladega.
That's the first one. It's been 2 hours. It's the first one we've seen.
Yeah. They're enthused about the restart of the race, and so are we. And we'll run down the entire field as it will restart when we come back to Talladega, Alabama. Be right back. Can it go the entire length of the grandstand?
Easy. It's got to be the longest wave in history.
Yep.
We ought to time it.
Mile long. Yeah.
Really? A 1 mile wave.
Oh, it's petering out.
Listen to the people. What happened? You know, it started at the other end.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
They're trying to establish a 1 mile wave. That's the length of the grandstand trail along the front stretch of the trioval.
The crowd really getting enthused now as we are about to go back to racing after a more than 2-hour red flag here. At the moment, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes since the red was displayed. And we've been trying to establish a 1 mile wave, but it has not been able to go the entire length of the grandstand, which is about a mile in length. And there are some people in the infield that are getting ready for the restart. The leader, there he is, Terry Labonte, in number 11. Right behind him, the number 9 Coors Milling Ford, driven by Bill Elliott. Then the 28 car, driven by Bobby Allison, followed by Buddy Baker. There's Dale Earnhardt's Wrangler Jeans number 3. Ken Schrader's Red Baron Pizza car number 90. Sterling Marlin's Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. Then Rusty Wallace, followed by Rick Wilson, who is still carrying one of our in-car cameras. There's Morgan Shepherd in the 26. Harry Gant is right behind him. Then the number 64 of Connie Saylor.
Connie Saylor being followed by the 62 car of Steve Chrisman. These are cars that may be a lap down as we get back to this point. 50 car, Greg Sachs. You saw him in that long slide as he went up into the number 1 car. His teammate, Neil Bonnet, number 75. Kyle Petty in 21. Somebody that some people think is one of the potential favorites. Kenny Reagan in 77. Ricky Rudd losing ground in 15 out of the IndyCar ranks. Eddie Tim in car number 98. And Alan Kowicki, big spin down in the infield. Lots of repairs there. The number 73 car of Phil Barstall. 82 of Mark Stahl. The 18 car now being driven by Dale Jarrett. There's Darrell Waltrip. And the number 67 machine of Eddie Birchwall. And bringing up the tail, no, it's not the tail line. That's Rick Knoop in 6. 12 car. That's Flick Johnson. There's Bobby Hillen Jr. The line goes on. The 52 car of Jimmy Means picking up a new sponsor this week. Benny Parsons, he also lost some ground. Dave Marcus in 71. And the driver of the number 99 car this week is Joe Ruttman. That is the ball machine from Eastern Tennessee.
And we have 3 cars that are on pit road, namely Richard Petty, Michael Waltrip, and the 55 car of Phil Parsons. 3 cars knocked out because of the accident. Bobby Allison also, the number 1 car is also out of the race. Now,
Bob, I was at that race that day, Michigan 1982, a 5-hour rain delay with the race ending at 9:30 p.m. I could not believe that Winston Cup cars could run until 9:30, but it was in the height of summer, the days, you know, with daylight savings. It was very long, and the shadows were more than shadows. The race ended actually in darkness. I remember being in the pits when Darrell Waltrip came in. And it was a very special sight.
And there is Darrell already strapped in the car, ready for the word to be given to start the cars and resume this race. His windshield being replaced, and with more on that story, here is Larry with this report.
During the running of last spring's 500-miler here at Talladega, Bobby Allison won the event, and that was done despite having to stop and change a windshield during the actual running. Well, it's not uncommon here at Talladega with 200-mile-per-hour plus speeds for a projectile the size of a small pellet to act like a shotgun blast to the front windshield. Now, the crews, they are accustomed to doing this. It's not an every race occurrence for every team, but they are prepared. We have asked the Kodiak crew to help us out here to slow down the procedure just a little bit. It begins when the driver comes in with a razor blade being taken to the silicone sealant that's encircling the front windshield. That breaks the seal. At the same time, an Allen wrench has been taken to those little bolts there in the top, which loosens the front windshield. That is all that holds it in. The old culprit is taken away. The brand new shiny one is put into place. Now here comes the really tricky part. No sealant this time. There is no time during the actual running of an event to do it. Instead, 200 mile per hour, naturally 200 mile per hour tape, now rings the front windshield. The Allen wrench once again fastens those little bolts there on top. The windshield is in place. And while the gasoline is being filled in, the tires are being changed, the windshield job, the replacement of it is complete. Now, this little exhibition took about 30, 40 seconds. But the crews tell me during the heat of combat, they can do this in 20 seconds.
And Darrell Waltrip's crew will be standing by in the pit area to make the, there they are, headed by Waddell Wilson. They'll be ready to put that new windshield in when Darrell comes around after the word to start engines is given. Once again, we are 22 laps into this 188-lap race that makes up the Winston 500 here at Talladega. We have been red now for 2 hours and 20 minutes, but by and large, the work has been completed here just below us where the fencing was torn down, so it's just a matter of time now before we can go back to green, and the fans remain very enthusiastic about the race here this afternoon and about getting this race restarted. Over 135,000 people are on hand here this afternoon. That's the largest crowd in Talladega history. So a couple of records have been set here, attendance and the fact that we have had the longest Winston Cup red period in history. We're just about to go back to more competition. Right now, NASCAR and ESPN with a track fact.
There are three primary differences between the tires used on short tracks and those used here at Talladega. First, the surface. The surface of a Talladega tire is very, very thin. There's only about 1/8 of an inch of tread here. That helps dissipate the massive heat these tires tend to build up. And the surface of a Talladega tire is extremely hard. You can hardly even scratch this with a jackknife. Second difference is inside the tire. Super speedway tires use an inner liner, a tire within a tire, and that helps the driver control the car in the event of a catastrophic tire failure. Third and finally, the tire pressures here are much higher than the tire pressures you see on a short track. On a short track, you'd see less than half this amount of tire pressure.
Several tires were ruined when they ran over debris on the racetrack caused by the Bobby Allison crash. We'll be right back with hopefully a resumption of this race. Okay. Yep.
Kenny, when Phil slipped down here, he tried this with Darrell?
Richard Petty, okay. And Jerry, you say? After having cleaned his drawers, Harold Kinder just climbs back into the box. Back live at Talladega, Alabama, and minutes away from the resumption of the Winston 500. Let's get a report from Jerry in the pit area, who I believe is in the Richard Petty pit. Jerry?
Well, Richard is strapped in the car. They're getting ready for the STP crew to go back to work as soon as they get the word from the NASCAR officials. Now, when Richard spun, he tore the left rear tire apart. As you see, this is what's left of the core of the tire being torn apart. No defect in the Goodyear tire, simply spinning at 200 miles per hour will tear it apart. And here is the inner liner on the tire still up. You see some body damage on the Petty car. They're going to jack it up, change the left rear tire, try to get him back out. They're going to have about a minute to work on the car here in the pits while the cars fire and warm up out on the track. So that's the story from Richard Petty's pit. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, Jerry, I'm in the pit area where the leaders are going to be coming in very shortly, and it seems as if most everybody down pit road here is planning to come in, take a load of fuel on, take 4 tires as well. The Labonte pit, however, has got an interesting situation. They have just done some calculations, and they've decided, by golly, they have been in the lead at Talladega longer than any car in the history of Talladega.
Absolutely right. You know that, Bob? Absolutely. You're right.
It's a bright, sunshiny day right now. There was some concern a couple of hours ago that some rain might be moving in before we could get this race concluded. But right now, the weather looks pretty good, and it is a lot cooler than it has been the past couple of days. Not a lot cooler, but a little bit cooler than the 90 degrees that we have had here on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Sorry to interrupt, Bob. They've allowed the crews to start repairing the cars sitting along pit road, so I don't know exactly what the timing on the ruling is here, but obviously somebody has given them the go-ahead. We haven't fired the cars off yet, but repair work is being done on Michael Waltrip, Richard Petty, and they hope that Phil Parsons' car might well be in a position where it might get repaired.
Well, some of the engines had started, but NASCAR had not given the official word, so those that had started were forced to turn off their engines. Now the word has been given, and the machines begin to fire alive here on the Tri-Oval after more than 2 hours and 25 minutes of red time. There goes Richard Petty out of the pit. He's going to be allowed to encircle the entire track and catch up with the rear of the field. All 3 cars that were in the pit area will be allowed to do that, and those 3 are Richard Petty, Michael Waltrip, and Phil Parsons. Petty is already into turn number 2. Here comes Michael Waltrip out of the pit. He's also going to be doing the same thing. As for Phil Parsons, I'm not so sure that that car is going to be able to resume competition because it was pretty heavily damaged.
Now what they are doing, they are keeping everybody on the same lap. Lake Speed, first in line, is being held up because in the confusion, Lake ended up being deposited in front of Terry Labonte. But as we have seen a couple of times, Lake is running in the top 10. That's why Lake, and we just went to the yellow flag. That's why Lake is being held up. He'll fall back in line in 9th position.
For all practical purposes, 2 hours and 26 minutes of red. We are now under yellow. And the first couple of laps will be run under yellow so that everybody can come in and make an assessment of the damage or any needed repairs on their race cars, because in addition to a safe racetrack, we want safe race cars out there. Petty, meanwhile, is now coming into the pit area, as is Michael Waltrip, so they are back on the same lap with everybody else.
Now we anticipate Darrell Waltrip certainly to be one of the key players coming around. He'll be replacing that broken windshield. By the way, Bob, you saw that report from Jerry Punch a little earlier, and the name of the company that sends out the glass, the specialized glass for these Winston Cup stock cars, comes from Toledo, Ohio. It's famous for a couple of other things. The glass center of the world, and isn't that the home of a well-known automobile racing announcer?
No, I'm from eastern Indiana. Why? Yeah, you
glass center of the world, Toledo, Ohio. It's been that way for a long time. Libby Owens Ford, one of the prominent companies, and they supply the windshield for the Winston Cup cars.
Field on the backstretch, now entering turn number 3 under caution. Petty has made repairs and is pulling back out onto the racetrack. Michael Waltrip continuing to sit in the pit area as we watch the field under caution proceed through turns 3 and 4.
In a situation like this, without question, the prudent thing to do is what NASCAR is doing, and that is to allow everybody an opportunity to come into the pit. This race will not go green until everybody has had a fair opportunity to make whatever changes or adjustments they need or wish to make at this point. Now, that is not to say they're going to delay this race if somebody takes 10 minutes, but a reasonable time would be up to 3 or 4 minutes, maybe the equivalent of 4 or 5 yellow flag laps. And I would not at all be surprised to see them wait and have everybody get out there and take 1 or 2 yellow laps before they actually drop the green flag. And Dick Bergen is down there with the latest update on what's happening.
And what's happening, Larry, is everybody is in the pits. Just about every race car here is, just about everybody here is in the pits right now. Labonte is in the process of a 4-tire change. Right in front of him, Bill Elliott is in the process of a 4-tire change. We're going to watch and see which one of those 2 guys gets out first, because whichever one it is may well be able to pick up the lead. Down pit road, Jerry Punch.
Well, what you're watching is a high-speed windshield change. That's Jeff Chandler and Eddie Dickerson changing the windshield. Eddie Jones, that's the left front of the car. The right front of the car changing, working on some of that seat vent damage. Elliott's the first car down pit road. Good pit stop for Elliott. Meanwhile, the windshield change continues here in the tied pit. They have the old windshield out, and they are putting the new one in. Chandler and Dickerson, the 2 guys working on the windshield. The right front of the car has Eddie Jones working on some sheet metal damage. The tire was rubbing in the right front. Beneath the front of the car, the crew chief, Waddell Wilson, trying to clean up the air dam that's been bent. 3 different teams working to try to make repairs on the Tide Chevrolet for Darrell Waltrip.
Most everybody else is roaring out of the pit area and falling in line. Darrell's repairs are still going on as the crew puts that duct tape and tries to seal the windshield.
Bob, his situation is a little more serious than the one that we had recreated in our exhibition that we showed you a couple moments ago. He had damage to the molding around the front windshield, so that's why this has taken a little longer than the 30 or 40 seconds that Barry Dotson and the Kodiak crew pulled off for us yesterday afternoon.
The pace car is already in turn number 4. Now Darrell Waltrip begins to move out, so he's going to stay on the same lap after a repaired windshield and other repairs made on that number 17 Tide car.
Alan Kowicki is also making his way out. I thought that car might have been crashed, too serious to repair, but Kowicki went by here seemingly in normal fashion. Rusty Wallace is another one of the late exiters from the pit area here on this elongated yellow flag, as is Sterling Marlin, so the standings are really going to be scrambled.
You know, Sterling was the last one to go out of the pit area. We remained under caution, but now the laps are counting, and this will be lap number 25 that is completed. Field still under yellow, but in just a lap or so, we will be back to green and resume this Winston 500. We're glad you could stay with us, and we'll be back right after this. Jimmy Means leading. Huh? Yeah? Yeah. Made up the lap. Oh, okay. Well, let's have no more of that type of thing that we had 22 laps into the race. Inside the car of Rick Wilson, the Kodak machine, and we're getting some great pictures from that as he is behind Kyle Petty, and we will go green in one more lap after this one. Several cars still making pit stops and going back out onto the racetrack. Rusty Wallace has been in again, and the field comes through the trioval now, and when they cross the line, they'll be given the one more lap sign.
That's Kyle Petty right up ahead. This is coming off of turn number 4. You see the entrance to the pits there on the left. They are now approaching the trioval. There's the reverse shot of what you just saw from the track level inside of the Kodak machine. By the way, we lost 2 of our in-car radios in that massive crash. Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough would have been assisting us in this broadcast today, but they were both knocked out, needless to say, in that crash as they exited the trioval.
3 cars were knocked out in the crash. Bobby Allison, also Cale Yarborough, and Ron Bouchard dropping out earlier, both with engine problems. The number 81 car of Chet Phillip and Jeff Bodine. But everybody else is still out there and about to resume competition, and there is Benny Parsons' machine.
Under normal circumstances, the moment of a pit stop here at Talladega is after about 30 or 31 laps. We obviously stopped on lap 22. Everybody came in on the equivalent of lap 23, so that just kind of moves the window for the pit stop up about 6 or 7 laps, but everybody is, of course, on the same rhythm.
The official word from NASCAR, 2 hours, 38 minutes, 14 seconds worth of red. And there is the Alan Kowicki crew doing some repairs to Alan's car. Let's get down to the pit area.
Alan Kowicki's Xerox Ford moving down pit road now, gentlemen. They came in under the caution here for a lengthy stop. They had some sheet metal damage on the right front of the car, apparently very minimal damage. They cut away some of the sheet metal so the tire would not rub. Alan gave him the high sign, apparently everything repaired with his car. Hopefully he can go back to full-speed competition.
And hopefully we can get some competition in here. We certainly don't want to see any more accidents like we saw yesterday and today. The Bobby Allison crash, a very frightening one, but no injuries to any drivers, and hopefully that the spectators are going to be okay. So get ready for the restart of the Winston 500 from Talladega. They were setting a pace well in excess of 208 miles an hour when the crash occurred, and we expect that to be the situation now as we are about to go back to green. The pace car pulls into the pit area. Benny Parsons will lead them down toward a green flag. Richard Petty is right behind him. The crowd jumps up to its feet once again, raises their arms, begins to cheer, wave their hats, and here we go. The Winston 500 is green once again, and the race resumes. That's Bill Elliott dropping to the inside of Richard Petty. Bill looking for the lead. Here comes Bobby Allison. Bill Elliott goes to the high side of Benny Parsons, and Labonte drops to the low side as they come off the second corner and go down the backstretch.
Labonte low being followed by Bobby Allison, and there's Morgan Shepherd. You can see the draft effect taking place. And Davey trying to assist Terry Labonte to the lead. Moving up also on the bottom side is Buddy Baker. He told us earlier that's where he feels comfortable this weekend, and Baker is on the prowl.
28 laps about to be completed now. Terry Labonte is back in the lead with Elliott and Allison second and third.
The last time through the tri-oval, I know it was the restart, but everybody was off the pace just a little bit. They really drove gentlemanly down through the tri-oval. Still a lot of dust from the quick dry that needed to be applied to the tri-oval section. By the way, Richard Petty dropped way back at the start of the restart of the race. You saw he didn't last very long up front. Petty has dropped back about 15 or 20 positions.
So they come out in the same order that they were running before the red flag, and Terry Labonte is looking very strong in that Budweiser Chevrolet. Elliott in second and Bobby Allison in third. Here comes Buddy Baker in the Oldsmobile, who's also showing some strength. He was very confident going into the competition here this afternoon. Now Allison alongside Bill Elliott as they cross the stripe once again. Elliott going to the high side of Terry Labonte. Will he go into the lead? Yes, Bill Elliott is in front.
Bill Elliott, the man to beat on the super speedway for essentially the past 2.5 years. The performance dipped a little bit in 1986, but remember that great season back in 1985, 11 victories all on the big racetrack. There is the view out the back window of Rick Wilson's Kodak race car. You can see Benny Parsons right there. Everybody falling in line, trying to find where their car feels most comfortable. Despite the fact that this is a 200-mile-per-hour racetrack, there are 2 or 3 at least different lanes that everybody can choose to race in.
Look how fast the wall goes by you when you're running at 200-plus miles an hour. He ran through that area of oil dry and kicked up a little bit of dust, but there's no problem there. The track is completely safe, and no debris or oil is on the racetrack at this moment. Now we swing the camera around, and we'll get a shot from out front of Rick Wilson. He's running in ninth spot, by the way. Setting the car into 33 degrees of banking here in turns 3 and 4. Now they come onto the tri-oval where the banking is 18 degrees. Wilson trying the low groove there. He sets the car low into turn number 1. Meanwhile, it's a 4-car train. That's Bill Elliott, and look at this competition back of the leaders.
By the way, Richard Petty almost a lap down. There you can see the bright orange tide machine of Darrell Waltrip looking low. He's trying to get underneath Sterling Marlin. Rusty Wallace is in that group, also on the bottom. Alan Kowicki, who had major repairs, they tried to accomplish this pull behind the pit wall. Not out of it yet, but taking a long break here.
Look at this competition. That 12th place Lake Speed in that purple car to the inside, and then everybody folding behind him. Benny Parsons alongside.
Ricky Rudd is in that group. Rusty Wallace, Bobby Hillen Jr., Neil Bonnet.
Rusty Wallace is there in the Kodiak car.
Harry Gant is also on the end of that. Rudd not getting a good first turn that time. That red car, he's fourth in line as you look on the screen right now. The yellow flag is coming out. There is debris on the backstretch. Hopefully it's low as this pack of cars races into number 3. Now remember, there is a gentleman's agreement, but they are all authorized to keep racing if they want to. And with this pack of cars and with everything at stake and as much money that they're involved here, see how everybody plays it. They've all seemed to have calmed down. I see nobody making any sudden movement. There's Richard Petty, the red and blue car, a lap down, remember.
Yeah, he would certainly like to get the lap back, but it's just impossible as the starters, the leaders, cross the line under yellow. And speeds are reduced for the third time this afternoon.